Okay, so we come here, studio.workshop.aws. We search for Amazon workshops. So here there are multiple workshops we have it. So I'll just pick Amazon EKS, okay, and I'll create a test event. I'll just create a workshop. I'll just describe something. I'll pick a today's date. I'll just call out as a 0, just set 10 p.m. Duration for about, let's call it 2 hours. Call one participant. This here I cannot allow external. It should be only an Amazon guys. Create event. It should be provision. It. So the event is going to start at 10 o'clock. 1:10, sorry, not at 10 o'clock. Okay, so now we do have this environment. So I'll just go over. The entire content is created. Now I'll just open the browser. Okay. This is a content workshop. Just it's an authentication. We do it. Please state for the residents. Not done. Event is not started. Okay. Right. Still it's deployed. Okay. Next one 10 p.m. That's fine. Let's deployed successfully. Provisioning a team accounts. Okay. So this is still not done. Still, this is a provisioning RAM.
Okay.
It might take some time. Okay. The content for this workshop is, let me, that might be the reason I cannot adjust it. Because this should be done here. Then it's going to be easier for me to check. still it's provisioning environment. Okay, so we can go to a content meanwhile. So what we're going to do with this content is an EKS workshop. Okay, there's a content here, the website. So what we're going to do here is we'll go to these are the setup is more how we're going to do it when we do in public workshops. And after this successfully logged in, we're going to go to we open a Cloud9 in AWS environment as part of a workshop. We successfully log into Cloud9. Certain commands has been configured here. The EKS we get in 3 worker nodes where you see this 3 stuff here. Maybe once the environment is provisioned, we can go and we can check on that. So this is where the application is. So there's a command, it goes through a GitHub. So if you go to a GitHub, so we should see a EKS workshop here, workshop content. Uh, samples. There you go. This is a workshop content. Okay, but pretty much all this has been wrapped up in commands. We don't need to download a GitHub repository. So when we execute this command downloads the entire GitHub repository. So as part of this workshop, we're going to build a front-end web application. This web application will be driven from a network load balancer. So the entire big picture of architecture is we are deploying a UI, which is UI component, and we have assets, which is Nginx, and these are the microservices. And each microservice has certain backends. So you can see here that it's a MySQL database, but this entire stuff is running on a Kubernetes. So we are not deploying any RDS or Redis Elastic Cache, or DynamoDB. Everything they are running as part of a container platform. So uh, so once we do this, there's a multiple namespace has been configured. What we do here, these are the components you can see here. All these are coming from ECR public repository from AWS, and there's a Docker files here. Or I can see this. Oh, there is a one. Oh, it's part of a container. So you can see here entire stuff here, Docker files, because most of them are Java-based applications. So this is the initial hands-on. We're going to deploy the, oh, where is this? The catalog we're going to deploy hands-on using a kubectl commands, catalog and MySQL. And once you're done the deployment, so you can see here, this is a catalog application and the MySQL pod, we're deploying it as a service. Then once your deployment is done using a kubectl commands, we will go through multiple applications. So there's a NLB command. I can see it. There's a namespace. This catalog. Oh yeah, this is a catalog we are applying it. So as a called out catalog application, we're deploying it. Once a catalog, we are just checking for a pods. So you can see here MySQL pod and microservice pod has been here. And we wait for certain X number of seconds to see whether the information is out. So after this is done at the bottom, all this we are checking. Okay, kube we don't talk about that. Now this is where it falls out because we did a fundamental setup previously. Now we are exposing application. So this is where we are create an application load balancer, which is an NLB. You can see here we are doing it in L7 load balancer. We are defining it. Then once we define, there's a entire script. You have it here. It's gonna execute all the load balancer configurations. So once we do is the load balancer is deployed. This prep it downloads entire Git repository related to load balancers. Once that is done, we're gonna execute as commands. Not this one. This all still we are checking for information. There you go. This is NLB. This is a script. We are gonna deploy this. It's NLB. this NLB deploys an entire UI application, which I go back to this one page. Let me navigate to this one. So this UI has been attached to NLB. Right? All these services are running behind the Kubernetes. They're not exposed to a public. We apply NLB, then we check for ELB has been up and running or not, just configuration. And if it is just service, we mapping it information and we wait for load balancer to be mapped to a UI component. So we update it once it publishes out a UI. Then we open that NLB URL in a browser. You see entire application is up and running. So this is a UI system. It's been published to NLB. Any questions, Ram, on this before I check on this part?
No, Krishna. I think pretty straightforward.
See, now I should get in. Oh, that might be the reason because event is in capacity. Okay. Okay. Ram, I think we can't do a environment till Wednesday, I think.
Okay.
Why? Because already there's an environment has been in progress. There's a 36 hours duration. I think until this is done, I think I cannot provision a new environments.
Okay.
This is going on. What I think. Oh, maybe I should use this. Okay, let me use this. Okay, so once you get the ID, so we get on this part, open a Cloud9. Maybe I'll bring down multiple windows. I hope we can see a screen. The same workshop, it's a EKS. So I just want to make sure that I'm not doing it. So EKS, we go here, just I'll run through Kubernetes configuration first. The EKS workshop, it generates. If I go to resources, you can see the application might have deployed. Yeah, this here, all this application has been deployed, multiple stuff you see it. And have all this, there's a cluster has been defined. There are three instances, 3 worker nodes has been assigned. And as part of exercise, we have done EBS also. Today's exercise, I'll just go to EBS. EBS has been provisioned, or you can see here, there's a multiple provisions has been done in EBS. So we have a worker nodes. All worker nodes has been attached with the ATGP. Then we are attaching within a PVC here. And that stuff we are creating a PVC, which is in 30GP when you execute the commands. So similarly, we have done it. So now I should find a load balancer. I can do that. Let me look for a load balancer. Oh, did I remove it? Okay. No worries. We can go back and we'll recreate it. Just steps. So Ram, this is more, we are doing more, this is more like an hands-on workshop part. So there's a lot of things are wrapped up. So you don't see a lot of Git commands and all. So see here already I might have downloaded the code, but just I'll try to run this again from a ground zero. It might get updated. So this is where we are preparing an environment here. And this is a sample application we already talked about. It has a UI and there are 5 microservices and about 4 microservices has an database kind of a stuff at the back end. The assets is more like an Nginx. It has a static content like images and all. We are running over a website here. Okay, so we can see all the stuff. Now it comes to microservices as a Docker files has been documentation here. And we are deploying the catalog and we're deploying a MySQL pod here. So there's a commands here, kubectl commands. We're going to execute them. Okay, so you should find this EKSworkshop.com, all the information. Right. So if you see here, okay, you can see here all the namespace has been deployed already because I executed this a few minutes back, and I'll not go over all each and every step, but most of them are kube gets. I think you understand pretty much everything. So I'm deploying the catalog application here. Or maybe directly let me deploy the NLB. So maybe I can see that. Okay. And I'll download load balancer information, which already I jumped part here. Services, we're doing it. And, already I jumped to a fundamentals part. So we are here, load balancer part. So this is a step I executed. Okay. So exposing this also a GitHub repository. The entire stuff is going to be downloaded here. You can see this. This is an EKS workshop. You should find it in a Git repository, all this stuff. So once we downloaded the repository code and I'm deploying a kubectl, just all these are describes. We're not doing anything. It's just describing. So pretty much you know what is it gets and all. So this is where we are deploying entire NLB. So you can see here, we're deploying a load balancer and NLB. So once the download is done, I'll execute the NLB part. So the interesting part is going to be here. This is the one, EBS and EFS. So because generally if you're doing it on a pod level outside, mostly you might be mapping for Kubernetes certification and all, you might be mapping this information to local drives. So here we are not going to do any PVCs. We'll do directly persistent volumes. So these commands are prepping most of our stuff. It's done. But now we should see here, let's go to a load balancer. We should see here, NLB is getting provisioned. This might be provisioning it. This here, creating infrastructure. Let's give a few minutes. We should see this. That is the one it takes some time, somewhere between 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, this load balancer is on health layer 4, right?
This is a, yes, that's correct, Ram. So this NLB is creating it.
Okay.
Okay, now we should see here. It's might be provisioning it. What? It's not provisioning it. Testing. Should be, or maybe wrong. Okay. Now you see here, the NLB is getting created because we applied it. It's creating this one. So once this part is done, it will take some time. So meanwhile, I'll go to the next command where I can run directly kubectl to get a spot. So the wait for LB is the shell script is checking for waiting for till the HTTPS URL is done. So you see here, this is the one we got NLB, but it'll print it as a HTTPS and that stuff. So on the UI, if you're looking at it, so still it's in a part of a provisioning here.
Good.
So once that provision is done, it will print as a HTTPS, and we can open that in a browser, the URL. So once we open this browser, it should show the UI application. So this is uh, the high-level architecture is here. We are deploying an application load balancer. Then we have a target groups. We have a multiple target group, service A, service B, service C. All these are running through a Kubernetes cluster. So we are in IP mode. So technically we are moving from the regular URL based to a IP based. So once we get it, it's going to show up as a IP here command. When you run this, we'll get a command that's the IP address. So the one we are deploying here is an NLB mode. So you'll have a URL, a DNS name. But if you're looking for hands-on running everything in your local RAM, I do have my GitHub repository here. If you go to here, developer.java, so you can pick one of this, anything you see here, K8 environment variables, K8 secrets, or K8, just pick this one. This is a more easy one. So this will help you to run through each step by step. So that means the entire source code is here. The Java, you'll compile it. So you can see this Gradle commands. You compile everything, and you have a Docker commands. You create a Docker image, everything, and you can test your Docker image before you're publishing it. Then go for Kubernetes command. You have entire scripts. I totally wrapped up everything inside a shell script. So you can see here deployment YAML files. One YAML file I provided, you create entire namespace, you create a deployments, you create a service, you create an ingress for your service. So it will deploy everything, and you can undeploy. So if you need some screenshots, you can see all this screenshots. You should see this under, I mean, this is a simple one, K8 boot, because you don't need to worry about a configuration and all that stuff. But if you are looking for more like a secret management and all, then it's going to be, you can look for K8 secrets and all. So you can see here step by step, you can run entire stuff in a dashboard in a Kubernetes when you install it. You can install a dashboard also. You can see this by default, you have these namespaces. Then once you're done deploying, after you deploy, it will create a namespace for you. And you look for services. You can see all the details of the screenshots. So all this were running on my local during the time. And you can see the pods. So then that stuff has been captured here with the UI. And if you want to unpublish it, just there's an unpublished script has been provided as part of your deployment. Just you unpublish that. So just follow this sequence of steps here, this year. Build a unit on your local and create an image. Then validate your image with the unit test cases. Then you deploy to Qubit, because all this configuration has been hard coded inside a code. But if you're looking for like a ENV or secrets, the application what have been hard coded, they've been moved outside of a code. So one of our example I can give you is the environment variables. So if here I defined multiple environment variables. So yeah, then later on I'll be moving that to your scripts. So you can see that somewhere in deployment, I define that environment variables. Yeah, the JDBC URL, all that stuff. You pass your arguments, and I mean, technically I'm not connecting to your backend databases, but you take this arguments here, and I just print it on a console to just make sure that your been that information is captured or not. You should see here somewhere console screenshot. I might have captured it. We'll get all this stuff. Yeah, same thing. You'll see all this UI somewhere. I buried that URLs. Ingress. We should have done your configs here because I was running a mini cube here on my local, so you can see this screenshot deployment service. Should have shown a config map somewhere. And deployment pods. Oh, there you go. This here pod has a configuration that what I'm passing it through YAML file. They have been documented here. The screenshot. Similarly, you can do that within K8 secrets. You'll see a similar screenshots. So when I go to a Kubernetes secret management, I think deployment. Oh, deployment. It's not secrets. So secrets are by default. It's a base 64 configuration. That's where we push towards a vault or somewhere the more secured format. So yeah, you can see here. This here, the secret management, secrets. It's a 16 bytes. It doesn't show you directly. It cannot decode directly. So if you're looking more for vault one, I have another example which has been configured with a vault. You can use, so you have to set up here HashiCorp vault on your local. So you can see here, set up and configure HashiCorp vault on your local. Just download from here. Okay, we should have got this. Okay. So there was no certificate has been attached, so that's why you might have seen the error. So this is the application been deployed. Okay. So now if you go to a EBS, I'll jump to the storage part. The storage, what we do here is, let me go to application. So what we are doing here is we have a MySQL pod. MySQL pod, I think pretty much the standard is we configure anything, any data we are creating inside a MySQL pod. The pod is died, the entire database is gone, right? So what we're doing is we are moving that data configuration to a EBS. So if you want to see that as a real example, you want to run it on your local, you should see, I do have that example somewhere here, where I might have called it as an PVCs. Persistent volumes, oh, here, it's in a different example. Developer info, databases. Let's see if we take this one right. Okay, there is a, let's see here. So if you see here, I do have a Docker. So creating a database, all the stuff configuration. Now there's a one parameter I might have provided where it will capture and write it to a file. So if my pod dies, it's not going to pick up entire stuff. This here, this will load entire this here data.sql. So I'm passing that in a Docker as an environment variable here. Where is this entity? Port name, container name, container name. Yeah, some reason you're getting an error on a Docker. Make sure that you enable a debug true this here. This prevents a Docker from restarting a daemon thread. Just change your IP. You have to explicitly call out if you want to run your database on certain IP because you're running with a minikube. Make sure that you set the IP as this one, or else what happens is when you're running a Docker on your local, if you're connected to your corporate network or somewhere, your corporate assigns a certain IP, right? So your default local host will not work on a Docker. So explicitly you have to come you have to provide that as IP colon 127.0.1. That becomes your local host. These are one, so that's where I found this error, binding error. The IP locks it, and I cannot, if you try to open your MySQL, connecting to MySQL from a MySQL client, it will not get through it. So here, this is one sample database. You can see here, I created a sample database. When I load the data, when I load this entire SQL file, my data, so this database will be created. So that means I'll have one table, which says table test table, and I create some 4 values to that table. So as part of this container name, oh, there you go. This here, this is my scripts. I'm providing you scripts folder. You can see here, path scripts, I'm providing it, and I'm providing a Docker entry init.d. It's a hard-coded spot. Oops. Then I'm setting my own user ID passwords. What the password I want to get in, and creating a database, MySQL database here, which is technically running as my database name. So all these parameters I've created. So the one more just want to call out here is, if you look at my script, I'm downloading the recent version of a Docker image from a Docker Hub. I'm not creating, so you can see here, this is a Docker image I'm downloading from a public repository. And top of that, I'm adding all this my configuration. So that's why you don't see anything Docker files here. So the entire script will download. Just the only part is if you're running on a Docker on local machine, configure your local with a proper Docker Hub repository. That means you authenticate it, so that way the script downloads everything from Docker Hub repository. So you can see here the container name and the entire information of your Docker image is here. Just this prints it out here. I'm pulling this Docker image and I'm running with certain parameters. The parameters are defined here. You can see all this stuff. Okay, and this is just a basic commands I'll call out, and this is a container ID, just get it. Because when I'm killing container ID, I just extract my container ID based on my SQL name and I kill it. But the entire data is returned to, we see at the path. This is where I can, it's going to be dumps entire stuff. So make sure that your path is being configured properly on your run script. Any questions, Ram?
No, Krishna. I think it's pretty straightforward. So.
Yes, Ram.